What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi and Eric Sheetshaber. We're going to be talking through this MLB slate. We will be live for MLB later, and then we'll do a live show right after for football. But 6 MLB, about 6:45 or 6:30 for NFL. It should be fun. I did not have a good Sunday myself. I had a good afternoon slate where I had a real chance. I thought I did not. The losing Cooper Kupp. At least he would. I mean, I even left Stafford in, so we know Kupp would have come back, but he was hurt. Because I had the Marvin Harrison with the Kyler, and Harrison was like unowned even on the afternoon slate in a 3-gamer. Like nobody believed him. Everybody was buying into he didn't want to throw to him. So couldn't get the right mix. Then wherever I had Kamara, I had Dak stacked, so I didn't quite get there. But Sheets, tell us a little about the trip, and then we'll get into the slate.
Yeah, I did a nice golf trip with like 7 guys. We went to Ireland, played a whole bunch of courses out there, and then as far as that was awesome. As far as DFS goes, tough day DFS wise in the NFL. Tough day in Survivor. Lost almost most of the entries in the circuit contest, but we did okay in some of the others. And that's one thing. This has nothing to do with baseball or whatever, but a really amazing thing happened in the MMA slate. It was a 10-fight slate, which is really small, and it was like so blatantly obvious, like what the best plays were. Mm-hmm. That there was like basically 2 fighters and 1 fight that you had to pick one of the 2 that were essentially like DFS locks. And I spent a lot of time, I did a couple of videos I put up there saying what's the best way to try to get unique from that, because in a 10-fight slate it's difficult to get unique, and in a 10-fight slate where like the best plays are completely like obvious, it's impossible to get unique. So I spent all this time trying to fade and do whatever, and everybody basically got leveled. Like the 3 obvious things came in, and somebody won it by themselves.
That's crazy. Oh yeah,
everybody got way too cute trying to outsmart themselves. It was very rarely happened.
Well, I can relate to that. It certainly happened to me this week a little bit. All right, well, we'll get into this at baseball slate. Baseball's been going actually a little bit better for me lately, so I'm kind of looking forward to this little
just in time for the end of the season, right?
Just in time, but I can catch up though. I can make it back. I feel like
we really should start doing. By the way, we really should start playing some of the featured showdown slates, just to get flexed and ready for the playoffs.
Absolutely. No, you're right. That's a good idea. All right, let's jump into it. We got starting off with Washington and in New York. It's an interesting slate. I guess I can talk about it really quickly. Like you're gonna have probably one of the highest owned teams we've seen on a full slate in the Diamondbacks, just because nothing else really stands out that much from a scoring. I mean, they're little like 2 runs ahead of everybody else. So it's kind of a weird slate, and we're gonna have to try and find ways to get different on a small slate where you're going to have all the Coors chalk you can ever eat and basically not great hitting conditions almost anywhere. So kind of a weird one. All right. But Washington, the Mets, your guy Mania here and Jake Irvin, I think you could make a case for the Mets. I think you could make a case for Mania. What do you like here?
Yeah, I think Mania is a lock. I mean, this is I mean, I know you got Skeens on the slate, what do you have? 30% on Reed Detmers? I mean, that's really what's the story today, because he's playing the White Sox. I suppose. And you got both the Japanese pitchers who look pretty good too. But I mean, Mania's got a good enough matchup. He's freaking just bringing the heat the whole season pretty much. Mm-hmm. And I think he's the best play. So I do like that. I didn't quite get to the Mets though, from the other side. So. For me, it's Mania, no Irvin, and I didn't get to any of it.
Yeah, I just am looking at the Mets because I just want to try and I have a group of teams that I'm considering that no one, that it's going to be low on, and the Mets are one of them. Obviously, it's probably not going to be the ideal Mets lineup with likely no Lindor. The Mets, I believe, are mathematically eliminated now. I'm not 100. Is that right? I saw a thing that said that, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
From what?
From the playoffs, but that can't be right, no, because they're right now in the. Oh, they are. What's that?
Aren't the Mets in the playoffs? Oh, yeah.
No, they're tied with Atlanta for just being out. I think it's. Oh wait, no, we've got. I'm sorry, I'm missing it. Oh, it's the Mets or the Braves, I guess. My bad.
Oh, right. So one of them is going to be out.
Yeah.
So this is a big battle here, actually.
Mm-hmm. It's it's a big time of year. Hopefully Lindor plays. That would make the Mets stack a little bit better. All right, the Dodgers in Atlanta. Who Dodgers have been struggling a little bit. Not encouraging to see right before the playoffs, especially now that they might not have home field advantage anymore. Yeah, you've got Yamamoto and Fried, two excellent pitchers, and I don't think anyone's going to get to the hitting here, and I'm probably not going to either.
Well, the one thing about it is that they might be struggling, whatever, but a really good sign is Walker Buehler doing better.
Yeah.
So that I would trade some losses and some like slumpy hitting for Walker Buehler actually being Walker Buehler for the playoffs.
Yeah, especially with no Glass now.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, Yankees are kind of limping in. The Dodgers are kind of limping in. Our World Series date is getting a little fishy, but we'll see. I'm playing like one lineup in FanDuel again. That's why I've been since FanDuel reduced all their prize pools since the NFL season started. I'm just trying to run like one lineup like a monster there to try to win that 10K. And I'll just say my current build has Yamamoto as my pitcher, for whatever that's worth. On DraftKings though, I'm not getting anything here. I'm not getting Dodgers. I'm not getting Atlanta. I'm not getting Yamamoto. I'm not getting Fried.
Yeah, and I'll just point out that I do think a lot Yamamoto there's definitely some risk of they're projecting him at 95 pitches. I'm not sure how much I'm buying into that exactly. Second start back. Look, he's always can get there, but there's a lot of good pitching on this slate. So I probably am not. This is probably going to be near a cross-off game. If you wanted to play like a mini stack of either side, I guess just because it's just to get something different. But I honestly can't get too excited about anything here. Fried is a good pitcher. I actually think Fried is totally in play if we didn't have so much good pitching, because he's been good against these Dodgers. He's got a strikeout rate with pretty good sample size of about 33% against the lineup that he's facing. So I wouldn't mind getting to either of these guys, but I currently don't have either of them on my list. All right, Philadelphia in Milwaukee.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. Never mind. I jumped ahead. I jumped to the other way.
I got Oklahoma. It's even worse. Oakland against the Cubs.
Yep.
This is I can't remember the last time the A's played the Cubs. Like that's a weird one. That's a weird intra division game to play. Anyway, you have Imanaga, who's one of the better pitchers, projection wise or whatever. I have to say, I mean, he's a lefty. Those Oakland boys, they can freaking smash the ball against lefties. Now, I'm looking at the weather. Just pulled up. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any real wind, at least right now, in the Cub game. But I don't know. I mean, I ran Sims. I ran stuff early, and I might be playing some Oakland here, just because. They have listen. We could justify it fundamentally as well. How well they do against lefties, but the Sims like it as leverage as well. But I do think Imanaga is a good option. So I do like both the Oakland side and the Imanaga side. I'm not getting the Cubs. And I'm not getting Estes.
So I have a little. I do have Imanaga as like one of my favorite, if maybe my favorite play on the slate. I just think that I've got it as a little bit of wind blowing in 6 miles an hour from center, but nothing crazy. Just a reminder that the Cubs, obviously, stadium is more affected by the wind. I do like Imanaga today. I have him right near the top, and I actually do like the Cubs a little bit. Don't love the win situation, but if you could tell me the Cubs against Estes, we've seen the Cubs score 10 runs like a million times since the All-Star break. So why not again? So I actually have the Cubs as one of my favorite ways of getting different on this slate. So that's where I am. But as you always say, somebody's got to win. All right, Detroit in KC. I feel like it's your KC team.
Yeah, they're looks like they're in decent shape to get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
and listen, if you can't win the World Series if you're not in the playoffs. That's for sure. So step one, make the playoffs. And better than everybody else that once you're in the playoffs, it's freaking random in baseball.
Yep.
So you get me to the playoffs and get me a hot Reagans and Singer and what's his name and Lugo and come and get me at 90-1. That's what I have.
Love it.
Anyway, today I have Lugo as almost always like my seventh best option or something like that. I don't know why he's always my seventh best option, but he is, and today's no exception. Not getting to Reese Olson, not getting to KC, not getting to Tigers right now, at least.
Yeah, I like exactly what you said about Lugo. He always looks like the worst, like the worst of the good plays or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But he had a great start in Yankee Stadium the other day, last start. He put up 38. He struck out 10 over 7 innings. He got about 3 hits, nothing else. He's been good. So I think he's definitely in the mix, but I just like other pitchers a little bit better. So I think that we're on the same, page as far as that goes. But I think KC is probably the team I feel the best about taking a shot with outside of the obvious chalk. So I've got them over the Cubs a little bit. I'll take a shot against Olson. He's been solid enough. The Detroit bullpen isn't anything great, but they've been everything's been average enough to where, but it's just good enough for on this kind of a slate. It's 83 degrees in KC. It's hot again. It's humid. And I'll take a stab with KC today. So they're another team I'm definitely.
Yeah, I missed this result. I think I was on the plane when this happened. Lugo really went into Yankee Stadium, just did them dirty. Look at that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Somehow though, with it all, like I think that they ended up like scoring a bunch of runs on the bullpen. No, they didn't. No, that was a different game. That's the next game.
No, 5-0. Just
that was the one they lost. Yeah,
5-0, 38 fantasy points. Wow, crazy.
I know.
Do you see what happened? Again, I got this kind of anecdotally. This whole thing that happened with Garrett Cole.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
Oh, so apparently they were playing the Red Sox, and it was 0-0 in like the 6th or 7th or something, and nobody out, and Devers came up, and Cole like took it upon himself to intentionally walk it. He like waved whatever, and then ended up giving up like 6 runs.
What the hell's he doing?
I don't know. I only got like half a story, barely half a story. I was wondering if it was like a thing.
I didn't see it. It must have been on Saturday or something.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and it was like I didn't even know pitchers were allowed to make that call if it was even his call. It was a very interesting thing for someone like Garrett Cole to do.
Yeah, it's very that's really strange. I don't
so that was that. Okay, so anyway, I guess we'll just move on.
Moving on, I think it's Philly and Milwaukee.
Yeah, so I'm getting a whole bunch of Phillies in my initial runs when you employ the Sims, right? When you're also accounting for ownership and stuff like that.
Yep.
Phillies to me are I guess the best non-Arizona idea. So that's what I'm getting at least right now. As far as pitching goes, I always seem to like get into some Savali, but as well. But I'm not doing that today. 6,600 is pretty cheap though. But I do like the Philly side. I don't currently have Suarez, nor do I currently have Milwaukee.
Yeah, I can't figure out what to do because this game I was very surprised it doesn't have a higher total. I think both offenses. I mean, Philly's really expensive, or actually, they're not even as expensive as they were because they haven't had the greatest, offensive second half of the season, even though they've been winning games. I think both these offenses are very much in play. Probably rank them just below KC, but it's sort of the same tier I have with the Cubs. So these are basically the main teams I'm going to battle with tonight. And Suarez has had a good season, but he hasn't been the same quite since the All-Star break. Savale. I just don't think is a strong enough pitcher to be afraid of. I just can't believe Philly only has a 4 implied run total and a good lefty hitter in Park and Milwaukee. It just feels a little low to me. So I do like Philly especially, but Milwaukee's in play for me as well. All right.
Yeah, so St. Louis against Pittsburgh. I know we said a couple of times that maybe Skeens is kind of tapering off a little bit, but he's still, just last 2 starts, 100 pitches, you give me him in 100 pitches at 100 miles an hour. That's good enough for me, and St. Louis, you can certainly get it going against them. So I think that him and Minaya are the natural 2, at least for me. So I think Skeens makes perfect sense. Now we'll get to the chalk in a minute, some more chalk in a minute, but I prefer to play Skeens and Minaya if I had to pick my 2. So I do like that. Now, interestingly, again, it's early in the day to say the least, but on FanDuel, I'm actually getting the Pirates as one of my teams that I'm playing in that big buy-in. It was actually, I can tell you right, it was a Yamamoto with a Pittsburgh Oakland.
Wow.
Yeah, and we'll see, but I definitely like Skeens quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm on this. I have Skeens, and I think Skeens and Imanaga are my two favorites, and I've got them as very close. I thought again Pittsburgh would project a little bit better than they do, and I don't really understand why they don't. So they're another team with a 3.7 run total where I would have thought it would have been like 4.5. So I was just a little surprised to see that line today. Pittsburgh I have just on the outside looking in probably for me, and Skeens is obviously the top guy for me, along with Imanaga. All right, moving on to what is next here. We've got the Rocky game.
Yeah, so Senzatel is back off a year layoff, I think, against Arizona, and Arizona has a very, very big total. And like you said, I mean, the gap between them and everybody else, at least as far as projections go, is very, very wide. Now, again, we said this just so many times, and I don't know how many different ways we can say this. We could say the very sarcastic, well, but it's baseball, guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's really the bottom line here. Baseball is a tough sport to play huge chalk from the hitting side.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the ball is only 1 millimeter up, and it's a lazy fly ball to pitcher instead of a home run. So
Yep.
I'm not focusing on playing Arizona in a million years. What I might be interested in doing is playing some gross Merrill Kelly shares at 6,800. I also think that Colorado could put up 10 against Merrill Kelly. We've seen Merrill Kelly over the years get torched quite a bit. But I think Merrill Kelly at 6,800 to get a little bit different off of some of the better pitchers that we've already mentioned certainly makes some sense. But I don't know how different you have to get. Like if you what you'll need Merrill Kelly for actually, as far as price goes. I was going to mention this before. These Phillies guys are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So if you do want to get to the top Philly guys like Schwarber and Harper and the other one, you are going to need to save some money pitching somewhere. So I think you do get that out of Kelly. Now, obviously, he's not remotely as good of a player as maybe 5 of the guys we already mentioned, but I don't know. Colorado's usually a good matchup, especially for righties, and he has good games sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like Kelly a little bit, and I like Colorado a little bit. I think Kelly is he's faced these Rockies a decent amount, and they just haven't touched him. For what it is, and he's got his strikeout prop I believe is like 5th on the slate, and I'll take a chance here. Again, it may not be the right slate for it because there is some really good pitching options at the top. But if you do need to save, I think I would feel much better about playing him than Savale, for example, which for some reason Savale is showing up as higher owned at the similar price range. But Colorado is the other team that you can get different with, where you're not playing Kelly, of course. And I'll have my Arizona rule. I won't play more than 4 of them, and I probably will only play 3 of them in stacks. All right. Now, this is oddly the chalk Detmers and the chalk Angels. Just you don't see that very often, so wanted to point that out. The Angels are the only other team looking like they're going to get like serious ownership outside of Arizona. So what are you thinking about this game?
Well, I mean, it should be pretty obvious, and I'm going to be playing all kinds of White Sox here. I mean, this is ridiculous. Yes, the White Sox are bad, and they're historically bad, and Detmers has been better, but he is a lefty, and I could play some of the better White Sox righties, and against the guy 30% owns, who's not. I mean, I'll survive with my Skeens and Minaya and Umanaga pitchers. I don't need to have Reed Detmers, honestly. Someone else can have it. I think the White Sox are so obvious. I think they're going to be chalk actually at the end of the day, but we'll see. The other thing I might be interested in doing is one of those things people do. What are those home run props? Like, what do I get on Luis Robert here? I don't know.
Oh, probably pretty good.
What do you get? Plus 500 or something like that?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe plus 500 you could get.
I don't know.
It's possible.
But he'd probably be the overbet one. There's got to be some other righty I could play for the White Sox, maybe.
Maybe Andrew Vaughn.
Andrew Vaughn.
Or Corey Lee.
Ooh, what about the Corey Lee?
That one you might get some real odds on.
Yeah. So I do like the White Sox here. And as gross as it is, I mean, you can play Cannon at 5K. If the Angels are going to be that popular, I don't think you're supposed to play like either the Angels or Arizona today. I just really don't. So what can I say? Cannon at 5K. The only problem is now that I think about it, aside from those Phillies guys, who am I really saving the money for? I mean, I really didn't get into too much great hitting. Maybe this Houston, I'll get to that later, but probably not. So maybe saving money is really not even worth it. I don't know. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I probably am gonna be on Detmers. I have him as my third pitcher today. I don't mind going with some of them. I don't mind getting to some White Sox because they're super cheap on the other side. Corey Lee, Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert. Corey Jolks has been really good against lefties, but he also might only get as many at bats as Detmers is in the game for. Really good is a strong statement. It's probably I exaggerated a little bit. He's been good by White Sox standards. Yeah, I get it. I have a hard time seeing a 5-man stack winning for Chicago because they just never score any runs. But I totally. I mean, Saberson definitely wants to give you that. Like I ran some builds with the Sims and everything before we got on, and they kept trying to give it to me. I don't want to play the Angels as a chalky stack. I don't think it's the right slate to play Cannon, but I did write him down. I did think about it, and he's got a reasonable enough strikeout rate for a guy who's 5K. Just what, like you said, I guess other than Philly, like what are we really spending up for? And what's the difference between Detmers and Kelly's price versus Cannon's? I just don't think you're getting enough upside. So Detmers is probably the only thing I end up with heavy on, but I am keeping an open mind to the White Sox mini stacks where I don't have Detmers.
All right. So here's what you can do. Like if you want to do this, this is what you can do hitting wise. All right. So Houston, San Diego. So you have two guys, Arrighetti and Darvish, who can be really, really good and really, really not good. And you have two sides of two groups of bats here between Houston and San Diego that have a lot of potential if things are going their way. So I think both sides of the bats here are very, very playable. You're not going to, you're going to need to have the bad Darvish, and you're going to need to have the bad Arrighetti, I think. But listen, you're trying to fight against this, like in Arizona, 6-run implied total or something? I guess, right? So something, you're fighting against something like that. I mean, you have to bring the guns to knife fight or whatever it is. So you got to have some guys that can hit the ball a little bit, So give me all these Houston power guys. Give me all these San Diego guys, the Tatis and the Machado and the Cronenworths and the whoever's. And I don't know. I think it's actually a pretty decent idea.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I had the first thought when I first looked at the slate that I think that both, Arrighetti has he's been really good, and you look in there and he might have that might be the lowest scoring pitching performance of all time. He had a -22 in Cincinnati. He faced 12 batters, gave up 9 runs. and didn't get anybody out. That's pretty wild to see. I've never seen a number that high.
Arrighetti?
Well, I'm looking at it on Roto Grinders, the lineup page, and it's got it.
Well, I have it -9 fantasy points.
They've got him at -22, -21.9, and they had him as getting 0 out. So I guess there was some dispute with whether he got those 2 outs or not. Apparently, yeah. But either way, pretty bad.
In either case, we'll take it if we have the over.
For sure. Yeah, I think these are the other 2 pivot stacks, and to sort of round it out, like for me, my favorites are KC, and the Philadelphia, then Milwaukee. I have this a little bit behind Chicago and Colorado, but then this would be the 6th and 7th teams I would get to. I probably don't end up getting to them, but I do like the idea of maybe just taking one lineup and just going for it because, like you said, these guys do have a range of outcomes. These pitchers, and I have no interest in them, so I'm definitely willing to take some stacks against them. My favorite pitchers in order: Imanaga, Skeens, 1 and 1A, and then Detmers, Manaea would be next for me, followed by Kelly, and that's pretty much my pitching pool.
I'll tell you, you look at some of these young pitchers and you see what they're capable of. I mean, you have this Arrighetti, and you have 2 back-to-back ceiling performances at Baltimore and at Philly. It's right. then just gets wrecked against Cincinnati. And this was the Baltimore and Philly was the game after giving up 2 home runs and getting lit up pretty good by the White Sox at home. So these young guys are good DFS players. They're good from the pitching side. They're good from the hitting side.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe that's the idea here.
And San Diego can score too, for what it's worth.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, so listen. So I don't think that a Detmers Skeens with Angels Arizona thing is going to be the way. So you got to do something different. Listen, I think we gave you a couple of ideas.
Yeah. I'm more excited about this Philly and KC thing than I think I was initially. So I'll get to that. And guys, we'll be live at 6 Eastern. I'll get my normal content and stuff out today. We were flirting with the idea of doing some of those training sessions. So I wanted to just remind everybody, if you're a member, get in the Discord and DM me, and we'll try and get something set up. Whether it's myself or Brandon, or maybe myself and Sheets and Brandon, who knows? Just let us know if you're